Pay close attention to this video. A woman was kissing a man while another woman was covering her eyes. At this time, a maid arrives and starts recording what was happening. She then walks away and leaves them kissing there. At that moment, the woman says that the kiss was very good and that she felt something different about him. She then asks what the man thought about that, but the man was already outside the room. At that moment, the man's brother appears and asks what he was doing there. The brother then thanks him and says he would go see his wife, but the man says he couldn't come in. The brother asks why, but the man says that he would have bad luck if he saw his wife before the wedding. The brother says he didn't care about that, but the man says he couldn't go into the room. The brother asks what it would be, and the man says that when he went to see if the woman needed anything, she ended up kissing him. He then says that his brother doesn't need to be mad about that, but the brother insists on entering the room. When he enters, the woman says that her husband could not see her before the wedding, but the man tells her to tell him the whole truth. She then asks what her fiancé was talking about, and the fiancé tells the other woman to leave them alone so they can talk. She then asks what her fiancé was talking about. The other woman then leaves the room. At that moment, the man says that he already knew everything. He says he knew his wife was kissing his brother. Meanwhile, the other woman was telling the man that she had done everything they agreed. She then says that now it was time for him to pay her, and so the man hands the money to the other woman. She takes the money and says it was a pleasure doing business with him. Meanwhile, the woman asks what her fiancé was talking about. He says he thought his wife loved him very much, but she says she didn't understand and says she loved her fiancé very much. He then asks if she loved him so much, why did she kiss his brother, but she says she doesn't understand. He then says that she couldn't deny it because her mouth was stained with lipstick, but she says that it was just a mistake and that her fiancé should believe her. He then says that it wasn't a mix-up because he didn't look like his brother, but she said that it was a mistake and that he should believe her. The groom tells her to stop trying to deceive him and that next time, she should think of a better excuse, but she asks her groom to believe her. He then tells her to get away from him, but at that moment, the other woman arrives and asks if everything was okay, as the wedding would already be starting. The woman then tells her friend to tell her fiancé that she had covered her eyes and that it was a mistake. The man then asks if that was really true, but the other woman says she didn't know what she was talking about. The woman then tells her friend to tell the truth. She says that she would tell the truth and that her wife should tell her fiancé that she wanted to kiss her brother-in-law. She then says that was a lie and that her fiancé couldn't believe that, but he says he thought she was different. She then says that her fiancé couldn't believe that as it was a lie, but the man says that he couldn't believe his wife anymore. He then leaves the room and meets with his brother. The brother then tells the man to listen to him, but the man does not listen and leaves. At that moment, the maid tells the man that they needed to talk, but he says he doesn't have time for that. She then says that she knew the whole truth of what had happened, but he says that he didn't care. She then said that she knew the whole truth and that her boss needed to believe her, but the man says that the maid's job was just to wash and tidy the house and that she was doing intrigue around the house. He then says that if the maid liked to intrigue so much, she was in the wrong place and asks her to leave his house. She then asks the man not to do that to her, but the man says that he had already made up his mind and tells her to leave. The woman then asks how her friend could do that to her, because she had seen the whole truth and could tell her fiancé. The other woman then says that she didn't deserve to marry the man, as he deserved to marry a better woman than her. She says that the man deserved an elegant and intelligent woman and that the woman was neither of those things. She said the woman was just a bitch, but at that moment, the woman slaps her across the face. The woman then starts crying and at that moment, the brother arrives in the room and asks if they could talk. She then takes a deep breath and asks what her brother wanted, as he had ruined the best day of her life. He then tells her to calm down, because everything had an explanation, but she says that it didn't have an explanation. She says the man had humiliated her and ruined the best day of her life for nothing. She says he had ruined her life. The brother then says that he had done all that because he was always in love with the woman. He says that whenever he thought of her, his heart filled with joy and that he couldn't stay away from her anymore. While he said these things, she laughed and didn't believe what he was saying, but the brother kept saying those things and saying that he really was in love with the woman. He said he always wondered why she was with her idiot brother, but that now they had the opportunity to be together. She then tells her brother not to approach her as she would never leave the man to be with him. She says that would never happen because she loved the man so much. The brother then asks her to calm down, but the woman tells him to leave and kicks him out of the room. She then kicks her brother out of the room and then starts crying for everything that had happened that day. At that moment, someone knocks on the bedroom door and the woman starts screaming, telling whoever was there to leave. She then opens the door and realizes it was the maid and is relieved. The maid then says that she was just there to say goodbye, but the woman doesn't understand that and asks what happened. The maid then says that the man had just fired her. The woman then starts crying, saying that that day was very bad because her marriage had been ruined and now the best maid she had was sent away. She then asks what she had done for all that to happen to her. The maid then says that the woman hadn't done anything, so she had tried to say that to the man, but that he didn't care what she had to say. The woman then asks what the maid was talking about. She then says that she could prove it and shows her cell phone and says that she had proof of it, and then the woman is very happy and says that the maid would be able to save her marriage. They then show the man a video, whereupon he apologizes to the woman, saying that he doesn't know how he can believe his brother's lies. She then said that she didn't care about that, because now the man knew the whole truth and that the important thing was that they were together. She then says that she loved the man a lot and he says that he loved her too. The man says that it was to show them that they shouldn't believe what other people had to say about them, but only themselves. He says he knew he was wrong to believe in his brother, but that mistake would not happen again, because he loved his wife very much. The man then apologizes to the maid for the way he had treated her, as she just wanted to help and he was rude to her. He says that he had just heard something horrible about his wife kissing his brother and that it made him not think straight. He says he wanted to apologize to the maid for everything he had done, but the maid says he didn't need to apologize as she knew there were many jealous people in the world. He then says that he didn't want her to leave. He says that he had worked with them for so long that he couldn't stay away from her anymore and wanted her to come back and work at their place. The maid then says that she agreed to go back to work there because they were a family. He then says that he was happy to hear that and that now everything was resolved between them. The woman asks her fiancé what they were going to do with his brother. The man then tells her not to worry as he already knew what he was going to do with his brother. Sometime later, the brother goes up to the woman and asks if she wants to speak with him. She said that she had given it a lot of thought and now she had a surprise for him. He is then very happy and the woman says that before, he needed to be blindfolded. He soon accepts her blindfold and then takes the blindfold and covers her eyes. She says her brother couldn't see anything and he says she could trust him as he couldn't see anything. At that moment, she starts calling the others for the plan to begin. At that moment, the brother starts to kiss what the maid was giving him and then he said that kiss was very good. At that moment, the man puts something in front of his brother's face and then the brother asks if he could remove the blindfold. The woman says that he could withdraw and, at that moment, the brother is surprised by all that. They then start laughing at what happened there and then the brother asks why they are laughing. He then says that they were very bad people for doing that. The woman then says that that was for him to learn, because he had done something very bad with his brother and says that his brother had loved him very much and he reciprocated that way. He says that was little and that his brother had always thought that he was better than him, but the brother says that that was not true and that he was better than his brother. The man then proceeds to say that his brother was always very dramatic and that he was seeing a dispute where none existed. The brother says that he knew that their mother always preferred his brother and that he couldn't take it anymore. He says he didn't want that anymore and that he wasn't being dramatic about it. The man then starts to tell his brother that he worked in his company and that company was not inherited from his parents. All this makes the brother very angry with them, and so the man tells him that he should go away. He then leaves furious with everything that had happened. The man then thanks his wife for warning him about this and that now his brother has learned a lesson. He then thanks the maid for recording everything and then hands her some notes. He tells the maid to use that money for fun and that he could take the day off. She then thanks the man.